Hey guys, welcome to Lead Nurture Like a Boss. So today our goal here is going to be to talk about lead nurturing and how organizations can use lead nurturing throughout their organization to build relationships and personalize experiences with users. The goal today is to get you to see the importance of lead nurturing, what it is, how it can benefit you and your customers, and then talk about a few ways that you can start to implement lead nurturing. We're also going to go through some things to talk about how lead nurturing can potentially help your organization in terms of like understanding your users. So we'll go through a little bit of all of that. As you guys know, if you've joined events with us before, we try to stick to the slides as much as we can, but also try to bring whatever value you can. Sometimes things come up in these conversations that we might have thought about to put in the slide deck, right? So we try to make them as fun and natural as possible. So grab a coffee, grab a drink, and just enjoy and take in what you can, and go from there. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So while we do have an hour book today, this is typically going to be for Q&As towards the end. Typically, these presentations are about 30 minutes. So if there are any questions that happen to pop into the chat, then we will try to answer a couple of those questions if we can. If you are a member of the Process Connect community on either the individual or professional plan, you can join the Q&A session after. So as long as we have people that are registered for that Q&A session, we will hold that. So if you haven't, make sure you go into the Process Connect community, click on Q&A sessions, and make sure you register for that session. So if we see that people are registered, we will definitely invest about 30 minutes or so answering questions specific to your needs, your business, and what it is that you're trying to overcome in terms of lead nurturing. We try to put on these events once a month or once a week or every other week. And the Process Connect community is fairly new at this point, so we are getting our feet up under us and working on taking it to the next level in terms of content and making sure that we're able to do more events like this one, and far as some other concepts that we have as well. And the goal here is to bring as much value as we can, is to make you aware of as much as you can, and to educate on new techniques and things that you can use in your business and your team in order to do the things that you're trying to do to grow and scale. So again, today we're going to be talking about lead nurturing. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And I will say, if you don't already know me, I'm Mike Wilson, founder, CEO here at Processology. We started Process Connect to be a community to help leaders and team members improve the way they operate. So create better direction for your teams and platforms. So we're all about processes, technology, and things like that. In terms of lead nurturing is designed to strategically guide your potential customers through a buyer's journey. Now, we will talk about there's some different types of lead nurturing that we'll get into a little bit throughout this particular presentation, and it can be used in a lot of cool ways. So we want to make sure that we're providing relevant and engaging content that builds the relationship, right? That increases the likelihood of a conversion. So when we think about a buyer's journey, what that might look like, you may have someone that may be aware of their challenge or may not be aware of the challenge. They may be aware that there's a solution out there, or they may not be aware there's a solution out there, right? And so these nurturing campaigns are typically designed to do a couple of different things. One is building awareness, letting people know, hey, your problem, this might be the root cause of that, or that thing you're trying to solve, there's already a product for that. So it's building awareness and building that relationship to let them know, hey, these challenges that you're having, this is how you can overcome those. So if we were to take something like, let's say, a marketing team, for example, and we say that one of the challenges that a marketing team might have is that they may be trying to figure out how to, let's say, improve lead generation, right? So a nurturing campaign for someone that is on a marketing team that's trying to figure out how to improve lead generation might be something that builds awareness around different types of generation, right? Like inbound marketing, outbound marketing, qualifying leads, capturing leads. All these things are opportunities for education that you can personalize for a potential prospect that may be coming through, right? Because they are trying to figure out, how do I attract more leads? How do I convert these leads? How do I understand who these leads are? And we can do this through nurturing by sharing valuable tips and asking for a bit of information here and there to try to paint a picture on who this person actually is, what are the challenges they're looking to solve, and can we actually help them or not? Are they a good fit for our organization or our product? One of the things that I will bring up that actually goes very well with lead nurturing, if you were able to join our last event about segmentation, they kind of play hand in hand in terms of you want to personalize the nurturing experience in most cases, or as people get deeper down the buyer's journey. So your first nurturing campaign, let's say it's awareness, and somebody's coming into the awareness campaign, and from there you're learning about who they are. But once you start to get identifiers on who they are, so for example, we're talking about a marketing team in our example. Let's say you're going after the CMO, or you're going after the director, or you're going after, let's say, a VP or something like that, or maybe you're going after the boots on the ground, right? Whoever it is, once you find out who this person is, you may want to segment them into a nurturing campaign that's specific to what they care about and their motivations. So this is where segmentation and lead nurturing become extremely powerful, and being able to take a segment of CMOs and nurture them on things they care about, while also taking a segment of, let's say, marketing directors and nurturing them on what they care about, and so on, right? So now we're creating a very personalized message that they can relate to. And that's what we really want to get down. How do we create nurturing campaigns and content that they can relate to? So let's go ahead and jump to the next slide. In terms of like what it is, nurturing is a process, right? We're literally taking people through a process of building a relationship, of creating personalized content and communication with the goal of converting them into a loyal client or customer. And so when we think about that and we understand that it's a process, what does that mean, right? A process means that this is something that we should have that's somewhat structured. We should know what it is that we want to deliver, and it should be somewhat standardized so that we can measure it, right? So we can see like how many people are coming into this nurture campaign, how many people are going out, how many people are converting, how many people aren't, and why is that happening, right? These are when we start to get into analytics and things like that, which we won't talk about right now. But the goal here is that lead nurturing is taking someone through a process to build the relationship and to eventually convert them to a loyal customer. Now, the benefits of lead nurturing is that it helps you build trust with your potential customer, right? Why? Because nurturing campaigns allow you to show authority through nurturing, to show thought leadership through nurturing, to show expertise, to show benefits of your service or product, to show case studies, right? The proof and authority. The lead nurturing allows you to do all this consistently. Now, a nurturing campaign can be manual, meaning that you're going out every day and you're nurturing a campaign, you're calling, right? So lead nurture can be done a lot of different ways. So let's talk about that a little bit. You can lead nurture with calls every day to nurture a lead. You can lead nurture with manual emails every day to nurture a lead. You can also nurture leads by visiting their office every once in a while. These are all ways of nurturing. Now, in this modern digital world that we live in today, we're typically utilizing automation tools to build automated workflows that nurture our clients for us, right? With a segmented message. This is where it really becomes powerful because now we can scale. Where before we can only visit so many people in the day, we can only send so many manual emails at a time. This allows us to use our database to create a personalized message to thousands of people within minutes versus it taking 10 to 20 to 30 and sometimes even hours to create one email that is segmented to a customer or an audience. So the power behind using automation to nurture your leads is incredible. We've built some incredible automations for some of our clients, and it's just, we always like to push the envelope, right? How can we get more segmented? How can we add them to a nurturing campaign at the perfect time, right? Based on behavioral, based on demographics. How can we make sure we're getting the right message at the right time to the right person? The next benefit is going to be around increasing conversion rates and sales, right? This is why most people do this. A client of mine said to me one time, if I could market with a blank page, that's what I would do, right? And that just was very very, I think, revealing to me is it goes back to that everyone wants good sleep, but no one wants to buy a bed, but everyone wants good sleep, right? And so it comes to that, like, these things that we're doing are necessary to build these relationships at scale and consistently. And so I thought that was really good. When we think about increasing when you think about increasing rates and sales, we're thinking about where normally we can nurture a small segment of people manually. Now we're able to open ourselves up to nurturing a large amount of people, which means pushing more people through the buyer's journey, which means more people get to the pipeline, and that can potentially increase into more sales. Now, the important thing about nurturing, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in our slides, is that we want to think about the different types or stages of nurturing, right? If I'm looking at somebody very early on in the buyer's journey, it may be more on awareness, and it may be more on understanding the product, or maybe not even talking about your product, but just trying to understand the pains and show that you get who they are and you understand them. And then once they move into the next stage, let's say from awareness to maybe a conversion stage of they've showed interest, you got the information, you've qualified them. Now we want to get more into our products. We want to get into case studies and stories and testimonials, use cases, those types of things, right? Stats and surveys and insights may come in that area where we're trying to show our authority. We're trying to build that trust with the customer to get them ready to move into a actual opportunity stage. So in terms of saving time and resources by targeting qualified leads, well, if you're not nurturing and you're not learning about your customers, again, a lot of this can be done manually, right? And for some of you, it might be the way to go depending on where you're at in your organization. But when we think about saving time, like I said earlier, manually nurturing can take a lot of time. Now with technology, we have the ability to automate based on engagement, based on fields and properties being updated in our system, based on all these dynamic things happening. All we have to do is build the trigger points to nurture somebody at the right time, the right message, and we can be extremely effective and efficient when it comes to reaching people at scale. Now, in terms of qualifying leads, nurturing can be very good with qualifying leads because we can give out things, and we all have heard the term in marketing, lead magnets. We can give out valuable lead magnets that in return gets us a bit of information to help us qualify the lead. Is this lead ready for sales, or are they not? And so through this lead nurturing, we can ask for bits of information. But here's a pro tip. You can also do this without asking for information in some cases by just understanding behavior, right? Did they visit a certain blog? Did they click on a certain email? Maybe they didn't do something else. And this starts to let you know behaviorally, hey, this person is leaning towards this type of service or product, right? There seem to be this kind of persona based on their interactions and engagement with our social, with our email, with our landing pages, with our website, with our conversations we're having. This person seems to be talking a lot about, a traffic generation or lead capture or these different things. And we can start to kind of build a story based on their engagement. This also can trigger putting someone into a certain workflow or nurturing campaign to nurture them down a journey. So those are all really cool things that we can do with nurturing segments of people to make sure we're giving them personalized content without actually having to ask too many questions, right? And we can do that based on behaviors. Now, when we start to think about the content for lead nurture, what types of content can we use as we're trying to grow these relationships? And this is going to come through things like educational content, such as like your blog posts or your ebooks, right? We talk about lead magnets. This can be promotional, such as product offers and discounts, as well as interactive content, such as like quizzes and surveys. All of these things are ways that we can start to nurture people and give them valuable types of content in order to give them something they need to get to where they're going, right? And that's something that's really important to think about when you think about a nurturing campaign is what's the starting point and what's the ending point. If you understand your audience, you're understanding who you're attracting, then the question becomes, what is it that they want, right? Are they trying to optimize, right? In our case, we're looking at clients that want to optimize, they want to improve, they want to give better direction to their teams and platforms. And as we're thinking about these things, we say, okay, what resources can we create to help them get to this point? Because sometimes you got to help a customer get some small wins, some aha moments, right? In order to get further down the buyer's journey, help them overcome mental blocks sometimes. Sometimes it's educating them on what this is. And so these are all ways that we can do this using these types of content that we have here on our screen. And this is just a limited list. There's so many things that we can do, right? You have video content that you can put out. You have all kinds of stuff, consultations, all kind of things to figure out how to nurture the client even better and personalize the experience. Now, when we think about strategies for nurturing, right, we want to personalize communication to build trust and connection. What does that mean? That means we learn about our audience. We put them into a persona. We understand this persona of what they like, what they don't like. Do they have a sense of humor? Do they not? And we're able to create content that works for them, right? So, for example, you may have a potential client that is more of a blog post reader, right? And so if you put them in a nurturing campaign that's sharing blog posts of insights, they're going to engage with that. Whereas you might have another segment that of the same type of content, but they may be more of a video watcher, right? More of a YouTube person. They want to see their videos. They want to go through the video testimonials, video case studies, the video examples. That person, you have to nurture different. And you can learn this by figuring out how do they like to nurture. You can also do this by behavior. Are they clicking more videos than blog posts, right? And we can figure out how to best put them in these nurturing campaigns. Ultimately, the goal, if we remember the goal, was to build relationships and get them further down the buyer's journey. In order to do that, we have to understand how they like to consume content. You see in businesses today where they'll say, hey, how do you like to get contacted? Would you prefer phone, text, or email, right? And we select the one we want, and that is typically the channel that they're going to connect with us on. Same way with the nurturing. Think about it from that perspective. How do they want to be nurtured, not how we want to nurture them? This is going to help you gain higher conversion rates when you understand. Now, some of this can be granular. I recommend starting off with the skateboard, moving to the bike, then going to the race car, right? Like start out and build on it and improve it over time. The next thing is using targeted content to educate and engage your leads. So when we think about what is targeted content, this means that I know who I'm going after. Let's say I'm going after a CMO on a marketing team. I'm going to give content that I know they care about. This might be around reporting and analytics and understanding the health of marketing. This might be understanding what is the quality of leads that are coming. Are they driving pipeline? Those types of things, right? How can we do things that are targeted to them? So this might be more like research, reports, insights, benchmarks, those types of things to compare. Are you where you should be, right? This also might be ways of how to help your team be more efficient, more effective, and more productive, right? So like there's a lot of ways that we can think about nurture. If you're, let's say, a construction company, your nurturing content obviously will look very different. It might be more of like how to pick the right contractor, common errors when building a new home. These are things that they're going to be nurturing on in those types of industries, right? If we're thinking about nonprofit, maybe we're nurturing about the impact of our business, or maybe we're doing stories like spotlight stories about how your donations are impacting the world or impacting the cause that you want to support. These are all ways of nurturing and making sure that we're sending the right content, right? If you're a nonprofit that maybe focuses on multiple things, is your donor giving more to one cause, more than to one designation than others? And if so, maybe you want to nurture them more on that thing that they care about and less on the other things in some cases, right? Depending on what you're trying to go after. Now, in terms of prioritizing follow-up and using automation for efficiency, this is such an important thing, is that at some point we got to get them out the nurturing campaigns and into the actual buying decision. So when we prioritize this follow-up, we're waiting for the signals of when are they ready. I call this baking, right? It's like putting a pie in the oven or a cake in the oven, and it's like, when is it ready to come out, right? So when you're nurturing, it's like they're in the oven, they're baking, right? And at some point, it's going to be done, right? And the question is, when it's done, is it edible or not, right? And so when I say edible or not, it's like, are they ready to move further into the buyer's journey, or are they not ready to move further to the buyer's journey? And so the key is to qualify and understand the people that you're baking, that cake that you're baking, understand the ingredients, understand everything that's in there, so that you know that you're going to get it's more higher chance of you getting something that's edible than something that's not. Hopefully that analogy makes sense. Using automation to be efficient helps us do this. It helps us measure when someone is ready. Are they visiting certain pages on their website? Are they taking certain actions that are typical for a buyer? Or do they meet certain characteristics that are typical for a buyer? If these things are true, then let's send this to our sales team so that they can start to prospect. Now, some ways to do this is through like lead, right? So through lead nurturing, we can gain the information to start scoring people based on behaviors, based on things they're opting into, engagement, those types of things, based on characteristics. We can start to build a score or a model of when someone is ready to be pushed to the next stage. And at that point, and only that point, do we do our outreach to that customer. In terms of tools for effective lead nurturing, so there are so many types of tools out there, especially when it comes to like workflows and automations that you can do lead nurturing. Like I said before, it depends on the kind of nurturing that you're looking to do. Today, I would say probably 85 to 90% of the customers that we work with are looking to automate nurturing in some way, or at least at minimum automate the accountability piece of nurturing. So this might be automating the task for your team to follow up. This might be automating the task for your team to visit a certain client because it's been 6 months, right? These are things that we're typically looking at what type we want to go with. Now, this can happen through your CRM system. So if you have like a CRM system, so for example, we're a certified HubSpot partner, right? We help our clients build these things in that system because that's where they live. That's their source of truth. But you might be on Salesforce, or you might be on something like MailChimp, or you might be on something like, I'm drawing a blank here on some of the other ones that are out there, but there's just so many of these things out there to help you do this. But this could be as simple as a project management software. This could be as simple as a spreadsheet, right? That you keep track of things. So in terms of the tools are almost endless. It depends on how efficient and effective you want to be. It depends on how much visibility you want to be able to see into things. If you're a growing team, spreadsheet is probably not the most effective way to do this, right? I would recommend that you have a tool like an automation tool, a sales tool, or a marketing tool that helps you measure these things. Not all tools are going to do that, especially when we talk about wanting to nurture based on things like engagement, on demographics, on things like behavioral and firmographics, and all these different types of things that we can nurture based on. It pays to have a system that can track all of this stuff, right? One source of truth that can track it all so that you can then use that data as ways to trigger these different types of nurturing campaigns in these different segments. So, like I said, CRMs, automation tools, valuable content, these are all the things you're going to need to nurture. And the biggest tool you're going to need is an understanding of your customer that you're looking to take down the buyer journey. What is it that they need? What is it they want? What are their personal motivations, their professional motivations, their company motivations? What are these things they want, and how can we build a journey that is a no-brainer for them to go down? Now, we start to think about things like metrics and how do we measure all this, right? So we want to look at things like lead to customer, right? What is that conversion rate? How many leads are coming to our system, and how many of those leads are turning into a customer? This is going to let us know if we're attracting the right leads and nurturing the right people and getting the right information. You might find, I'll give you a key example. You might have a blog that attracts people to your blog, and you have stuff that converts them. Well, you might have a situation where you have, and we've seen this with ourselves, we've seen this with other customers, of where you have to figure out a solution where you might have students that are using your blog for education purposes. And the challenge there becomes is that it looks like they're engaging, they're opting into things, they're downloading tools, and they're doing these different things. And the challenge, what happens is that now you have a whole database of people that are being nurtured, that are engaging, but they are not qualified to be a customer. So how do you make sure to take them out of the system? One of the ways to solve this is by asking for, what best fits you type of question, right? And are you a student? Are you, or what are your goals? Are you researching? Are you looking for a solution? Different questions that you can ask to try to understand the person and who they are. So then we have like the time it takes for a lead to become a customer. So there's one is rate, like what percentage are turning into customers. The other one is how long does it take someone to become a customer, right? If it takes, let's say, an average of 30 days from a lead to customer, or 6 months, or a year, or 2 years, I've seen in cases, um, then the challenge becomes there is that everything that you're investing today may not pay off for quite a while. And knowing that information is very valuable, right? Because then you can also see, okay, this is where I'm starting. It's taking me, let's say, 8 months to take somebody from lead to customer. How can we improve to shorten that? What if we can cut that in half and get more people turning to customers faster? What does that mean for our organization? What does that mean for the customer and getting a solution, right? So how do we build the relationship faster? And then when we start to think about things like the amount of revenue generated from lead nurture. Now, typically, when it comes to marketing teams, what we'll see is that we really need to understand how is marketing influencing revenue in the first place, right? That is not always the easiest thing to track. And so one of the ways that we can do this is understanding has people gone, how what leads or what deals have closed into one revenue that have gone through X nurturing campaign or that came from a marketing generated resource. So what can we do to track that? And that's pretty easy to do for the most part. That is pretty easy if you have the right systems in place to do so by understanding that the whole entire buyer's journey on where somebody started and where they ended. So this also comes down to understanding like when we look at how your nurturing campaigns qualifying is what are the sources? Where is that coming from? Maybe one source works better with with the lead nurturing campaign that takes people through, and the more of those people actually turn into customers, right? Again, remember the lead nurturing part is just a process that takes someone from a lead to a customer, right? It's all the nurturing in the middle that gets them down the buyer's journey. So, guys, hopefully this lead nurturing campaign or workshop was valuable to you. Hopefully, this stream helped you see the importance of lead nurturing. There's so much we can talk about when it comes to lead nurturing. That our goals here are to help you build awareness, help you see some things maybe you haven't seen. Like no matter what industry you're in, lead nurturing can typically help. One thing that I do also want to throw out there that's not part of our slides is that lead nurturing goes beyond prospecting. Lead nurturing can go to how do you nurture, how do you do like employee nurturing, right? How do you nurture your team? How do you take them through a journey of, let's say, working with your organization, right? This can go through partner nurturing. How do we nurture our partners? How do we nurture our vendors? There's a lot of things you can do when it comes to nurturing in itself and a lot of other areas you can nurture. Why do you want to do that? Because of what we talked about in the beginning, to build the relationship, to build trust and to build loyalty from your team, to build trust and loyalty with your partners and your vendors. Nurturing can help you do all of that and also help you understand all of these people as well. So again, hopefully you enjoyed this stream and it brought some value to you. If so, make sure to jump into the community table and drop some comments for me. Let me know you're in this event. Let me know what you thought about it. I want to hear it. Tag me if you want at Mike Wilson or Michael Wilson in the description. I'll read your post. If you're not part of the community already, I recommend that you sign up. We do offer a free account as well as 2 paid accounts to be part of this community. The goal of it is to help you optimize the way you operate. We want to optimize the way that we do things in our organization. We believe at Processology that you have to understand what you're doing in order to execute it effectively. We want to give you and your team better direction so that you can optimize the things that you're doing in your day-to-day work. We believe if you operate better, you will live better. And so join the community, sign up for a free account. And if you really want to get into some of the team specific spaces and some of the private events that we'll be holding, sign up for one of the individual or professional plans. We would love to have you as part of the team, and let us know what other type of events that you want to see and what else will be valuable to you around operating your marketing team better. Thanks.